Hi, everybody. It's Chris here, and it's been a week. Um, Sophia's sick. We've been kind of swamped with some work things, and we've had some family out to visit, which has been wonderful. But unfortunately, that means we haven't been able to record this week. So instead, we're going to re-release an old episode. We've done a little bit of work to the audio. It's not great. It's not perfect, but it's a little bit better. And for the love of God, I hope it's a little bit louder. So take a sit back, listen to this week's episode, which is many weeks old, many weeks old. And next week we'll be back with a new episode. All right, thanks.
So, did I tell you that?
Go for it.
Oh, good. No,
Okay.
did I tell you we saw Shape of Water?
Oh, did you?
It
How
did.
did you see it? Can you talk about how you
how
saw
did-
it?
How did we see it? How did we end up being able to? I think
Right.
it was somehow we both had the day off, but Miles
Okay.
still went to daycare.
Oh, cool.
So somehow we got to see a movie that day. Oh,
Oh.
it was on one of
The
one of
holiday?
my no.
Snow day?
Yeah.
Holiday.
I forget.
Snow day? Holiday?
No, it was Monday.
Snow day?
It was the Martin Luther King Day when
Oh,
I
okay.
still had explosive poops, but I was so
Okay,
tired of being in the
sure.
house that I braved explosive poops to see a movie.
I mean, brave that poop, man.
I did.
Brave it.
I was still living on Gatorade and Powerade, but hey, it was good though. I liked it.
Yeah. Awesome.
I totally see how some people don't like it, but I liked it.
I heard weird things about it today. One of my students and I were talking about it, and they were just kind of like, yeah, so there's all sorts of, like, super sexy, like, monster on lady action, but that's not really sexy, but weird.
Yeah, that's a over exaggeration of it, but yes. It's a fairy tale, right? So at the end of the day, like if you don't buy into the fact that it's a fairy tale, but it's a Guillermo del Toro fairy tale, so
Sure.
it's fucked. But if you buy into that, like the idea of like Beauty and the Beast, I mean, or Princess and the Frog, you have a lot of like animal, human. It just happens to be they turn into humans,
Okay.
and this is the creature in the Black Lagoon. So.
Sure.
But I liked it. I also think Sally Hawkins, the actress in it, was incredible.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think it's worth seeing. I also like Doug Jones, who plays the monster. I think he's awesome.
So he reprises his role of Abe Sapien?
Pretty much, but
Awesome.
different. But pretty much. But I mean, his work's worth seeing. So I liked it. I thought it was
That's
good.
amazing. I guess we get started now, right?
Yeah.
Alright, cool. We can do that. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Two Dumbs Dad. Two Dumb Blah. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Two Dumbs Dad. Blah. You can hear
Just
Aaron
say-
laughing
just-
at me
just
too,
say-
can't you?
Just say two dumb dads.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Two Dumb Dads. I'm Chris.
I'm Nick.
And this is episode 6 for January 28th. So we have Nick back. So he's no longer exploding out of his butthole and ruining the world.
I'm not, but can we tell this episode Return of Nick? Kind of like Return of the Jedi? I think that'd be really epic.
Can we call it Return of the Raging Butthole?
Yes.
Okay. We'll find something in between, I suppose.
Yes.
Awesome. So what's up? Have you been?
Good. I mean, other than,
Sure.
good. I was trying to think, like, what's going on with Miles, but it's been a pretty, like, slow... I'm sure more's gone on than I think, but, like, it seems pretty
Always.
status quo.
Mhm.
I mean, he's got a new teeth coming, so it's like the one tooth he was missing in his line of bottom teeth, so that's
Right.
exciting. But, otherwise, it's pretty much... I don't know, there's been nothing big, right? There's been no big, like... I guess he knows how to say no now. But
Right.
not like verbally. He just shakes his head with a lot of gusto whenever you bring food near his face that he doesn't want to eat. Or even if he does want to eat it, he just says no. And then looks at you and smiles and says no. So Miles
Oh,
says
that's
no
the
now.
worst.
Yeah, it sucks.
Yeah,
And
that was an awful moment when Thea started figuring that out.
yeah. I mean, it was cool for like a second. And then you're like, oh, not cool anymore. Because
Right,
it
it's
keeps
like, oh my
doing it.
god, my kid can do a thing. Like, there's some agency here. It's like, no, I'm going to tell you what I don't want. And then you realize he just doesn't want anything.
No. Except for goldfish. I can still pretty much get goldfish on him. Yeah,
that's the
right?
secret to childhood. Is just give me goldfish.
It really is. They're really good, though. If you go back after you're a kid, like you're a parent and you're eating goldfish, you forget just how awesome they are.
Mm-hmm.
So that's it. Says no. What about Thea? What's she up to?
Oh, I have some good stories and some stories I'm really proud of. I actually want to tell two stories of Thea for both sides of the parenting spectrum. So the first one is just amazing. Thea's getting a little bit of a cold right now, and so her nose has been running, just constantly faucet bubbling, like cesspool of booger just pouring out of her nose. So tonight we were doing our little our bedtime routine where she's got her going to round of books and stuff, and she's trying to get all the viewing. Like, here, you read this one, here, you read this one, and we'll do this and do that, and it's great. But so I decided, like, all right, I'm going to read this book and lay on my back because I'm uncomfortable. I'm like, oh, I'm going to lay on my back and kind of read this over my head. So I start reading, and she comes over to give me a kiss. And as she does that, apparently her nose was dripping something horrible.
Ugh.
Because she gets just the right angle where, like, she kind of, like, scoops down, rubs the boogers on my nose, and as she pulls up, like shovels them into my nose.
That's how you get the plague.
It may be the most disgusting thing that has ever happened. Like, it took me a couple seconds to realize what had happened, where I'm just sitting there going like, oh, I think that was no, that's that's booger. She just put her boogers in my nose with her nose.
I still got that trumped. Miles threw up in my mouth once.
Oh, well, that's because Miles was just like a faucet of vomit.
What? But at least at least Thea did not throw up in your mouth. Baby Vom is a little salty.
Baby Bomb is a little salty?
Baby Vom is a little salty.
Oh, I didn't need to know that. I could have gone through my whole life without ever knowing that.
Yeah, but now you have like a good trivia question.
Oh, that's gross.
Anyway, what else with Thea?
So the other story. So last night, all of my stories happened within the last like 12 hours.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, it really is. So last night, Thea was actually we're again kind of approaching bedtime, whatever. Thea's doing this like really sweet thing where she's going back and forth again, having us read, but she loves to have books read to her now. She just adores it. So in the middle of my wife reading her a book, she just kind of walks over to me casually and is just like, I'm going to sit on your lap and just give you the biggest, tightest hug ever. I'm just I melt. I just oh my God, I love you so much. You're the greatest child who's ever existed. And then she just hands me one of her little, Baby Einstein books and has me read it. I'm like, oh God, Thea, I will absolutely read this to you, but this is like a real waste of a you can have anything moments. Like, you could have had candy, you could have had houses, you could have had a hit squad. And she immediately just kind of goes like, oh, okay. And so she climbs off my lap and starts walking away. And I just kind of turn to Erin and I go, she's going upstairs, isn't she? We put all of her candy upstairs from Christmas.
Smart.
So she literally heard me say, oh, you could have had candy, you could have had M&Ms, you could have had any, and went, oh, I could? All right, I'm going to go upstairs and get some candy then. So,
do you think she was just going upstairs to get candy anyway?
No, because she's been really good about, not going up there except for, mornings when we're getting dressed. And so I think she heard candy or M&Ms or whatever, and she knows what M&Ms are after the holidays. I think she just went, M&Ms? All right, I guess I could have M&Ms. And she went to go upstairs. It was adorable. It was amazing. I gave her 2 giant fistfuls of M&Ms.
Reward that behavior. Would you have let her put a booger in your mouth for that hug?
I mean, would I have let her? Probably, because she just does it anyway.
But would
Like,
you have enjoyed it? Like, would you have let that be her like victory thing for a hug? Is boogers into your mouth?
Like, okay, how blatantly are we talking? Like, is she going to like dig up?
Yes, she's
find,
like
a
finger
neon
in.
green booger and
Yeah.
just like serve it up on a platter?
Yeah, like, but no, like with her finger, like straight up, pull out, look at it, look at you, give you a hug, right in your mouth with it.
Oh.
Like, you have to accept it.
Oh man,
How much do you want that hug, Chris? How much do you want that hug?
Want that. I don't get those hugs. Those are Aaron hugs. Those are my wife's.
You'd eat a booger for it.
I would eat a booger for it.
Right, it'll help your immune system.
I would. I mean, you know, since Christmas, I'm the only person we know who hasn't gotten sick.
Yeah, now that you said that,
No,
you're
I'm
gonna
die.
poop. Yep.
No, we have 3 days between now and when the next semester starts for our work, and oh my god, I'm gonna catch the plague. I'm gonna catch the plague and die. I'm gonna miss the first half of the semester and go poor.
You're gonna get the poops.
The poops, the fire lava poops. So, what are we talking about today, Nick? Do you remember?
I think we're talking about child-proofing, which I think is going to be way more on your end probably than our end, because we did this a while ago.
Yeah, we just did it over the weekend.
And Miles is short, so you can't really get into anything. But anyway, how has your experience with child-proofing your house been?
It's been tough. If I could be completely and utterly honest, I honestly don't know what to do. We've for a while had gates up because we have a kitchen and we have these East Coast apartments that are super small and everything is kind of compact. So our kitchen, we just kind of put a gate there so that she couldn't get into the kitchen. And when we allow her in there, we kind of are constantly on watch. A cabinet that'll open, she wants to reach in and grab everything. Like we have what everybody has with the poison cabinet under the sink. So we keep trying to tell her, like, no, you can't go in there, you can't go in there, and it's just, whatever. Like, we stop her, turn her away, and realize one of these days we're not going to be quick enough. So over the weekend we decided, all right, it's time. We're gonna do that thing where you like figure out how to do stuff, and basically what that amounted to was we put the little we've had the little like socket like covers. And then we put the catches on all the dangerous cupboards, and that is literally all we can figure out how to baby-proof, because I have no idea how you do this.
Well, you're like a little behind on the baby-proof cabinet train.
Yeah, no, we're super behind.
But I think part of it is, I don't know, again, our house, it's different because Miles doesn't have the height, so there's always stuff that you miss, so there's stuff he can't grab, right? But a lot of it's just like walking around your house and trying to figure out, what can they grab?
Yeah.
Because you can't 100% baby proof your house. I think it's impossible. There's always gonna be things they're gonna find. But like if you walk around our house right now, he's got. So what we did to ward off the cabinets is we left 2 cabinets. There's like a row of cabinets that have pots and pans in them, and that's it that he can get into. So that like quells most of the getting into cabinet, and then everything else is latched, right? Safety latched.
Okay.
But then otherwise, we just don't have anything that is at reachable level for him. There are a couple things that I can see, like
I've been to your house. How is that possible?
He's not that tall.
He's not that short either.
Well, so the one thing we have is our kitchens, he can't get anything in the kitchen. The cabinets are super tall, and all the like stuff is put away. The only thing we have is the liquor cabinet.
Okay. Yeah,
but he's not tall enough to reach the bottles. So anything else he pulls down is like a thing full of coasters in it. So that's fine. Mm-hmm. And then we have our bookshelf. But other than that, there's not really anything for him to get that is dangerous. We watch him. We still have, him in eyeline, but and then we have a gate. We can block off him from going into the kitchen if we don't want to follow him around. Mm-hmm. I think, with the size of our house and probably an East Coast apartment, you can't do the whole like, well, just let him wander. You still got to kind of keep an eye on him, but
that's the thing that like because I've done what you're talking about. It's like, okay, walk around the house, see what's dangerous, what's not, etc. And it's like everything is at her height. Like we have, like I'm gonna call it a console table, but it's not a console table. It's what we use it as. But like we have those like wooden, not wooden, but like those like Target block shelves.
Yeah.
That are, you know, and you put the little organizers in them, and it's been great. You know, it's wonderful. It's like tons of storage. But now that like Thea's looking at it, so she's going over there, and it's like, oh, there's a box. What's in this box? It's like, oh, there's scissors, there's a stapler, there's, I don't know, like a flamethrower in there, a lighter. I don't know, just like all the dead stuff.
I mean, this is to quote my father. You got to be smarter than your 1.5-year-old. Like, put something in front of it. Buy a gate.
No crap. Like,
put a gate in front
what?
of it. A gate. Put a gate up. You have those gates.
But those gates aren't like attachable to anything. I can't, like, there's nothing in front of this thing that I can attach it to. It's not like, and I think it's basically plastic, so if I put a screw in there, it's just going to fall apart. And if I put a screw in there, then what am I going to, like, how am I going to get it back open?
But you'd be surprised how much, I mean, because we have not the same thing as you, but it's similar that has stuff in it. Now, there's nothing in there that, like, Miles can hurt himself with. It's more like my plays, just shit I don't want him to get into.
Yeah, but yours is, like, in the corner, right?
Well, we put something in front of it. So, and that's why I put it's not a gate, it's a beanbag chair. Now listen, he can sit on a beanbag chair and get it, but the fact that there's a deterrent there allows me that when I'm sitting there looking at him, if he starts going for it, I can be like, Miles, no, and try to stop the process. So the gate is not, it's more like you're setting up a deterrent to that area. Like, yeah, she can move the gate, and she probably will. But in the same time, every time she goes to move the gate, you can be like, Thea, no. And eventually, she'll probably get it. It's like the Christmas tree. Like, Miles no longer fucks with the Christmas tree for that exact reason.
You guys still have
Ours is still up, by the way.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah.
Ours came down like an hour after the holiday.
I haven't had time to take it down. But my point is still the same. Like, that was a thing, and finally, it took a long time. So you might just try, you should probably go through it and find out what shit's in there that she can A, choke on, and B, stab herself with.
And that's part of, like, that was part of my original plan, right? When Erin was pregnant, when my wife was pregnant, I went through this whole, like, paranoid father phase where I was like, okay, everything in this apartment can kill my daughter, my kid. I don't know if I had it. Point is, I gotta do something about this. So I was like, we don't have enough storage. We need more. So I have to create more storage. And so we had like this little alcove area in our apartment. So I built a bench. I bought wood. Nick came over and helped me, and it was awesome. We cut like all this super heavy, dense wood into long pieces, and it's like, I'm doing it. I'm gonna build a bench. I covered part of it in fabric and cushioning, and honestly I never actually finished it because I always intended to like cover the front part and then get a couple like cushions for the top, which I can still do. It's not that hard. But the point is, I built a freaking bench that's functional, and it opens and you can put stuff in it, and it's amazing. And I made it super heavy so that it's like, oh, my daughter will never be able to lift it. He'll never lift it. It's so perfect. Well, of course, now my thought is like, oh, this thing is super heavy. The day she can lift this thing up, she's just going to, like, cut her hand off with it.
I mean, she won't cut her hand. She might squish her fingers in it.
Oh, yeah, and it hurts. I've done it.
I know. But, I mean, part of that, isn't that part of, like, that's part of her growing up, too, is figuring out, like, oh, might crush my fingers in that.
I mean, yeah, but I don't want my little girl to get hurt.
Well, I know, but she's going to. I mean, listen, I don't want him to get hurt either, but, like, I always think about that sometimes when, like, talking about childproofing and, like, where we're at with it. I mean, some of the stuff, I just am kind of like, well, if he can't choke on it, and he can't stab himself with it, if he hurts himself a little bit, like, not irreparable, like, then he learns, right? I just feel like there's some level of that happening, too.
Did you guys buy into any of the crap Like all the gadgets and gadgets that they market towards parents?
No, I mean not yet. I think like I said, we did the locks for the cabinets, which are on, but I think I need to redo them a little bit. The other thing that we'll probably get, because we have, our stairway where his room is a death drop.
Yeah.
Quite literally, like, so we'll probably have to invest in a gate for up there. We're just not there yet because he can't get out of his crib. And then we will probably have to invest in the doorknob things. I think those are really great. So the other friend we have who has a son who's older than our two kids, I kind of always scope out like what they did, and like they had a thing that blocks off their kitchen, so he can't get into the kitchen. Their living space is pretty open, so he can kind of mosey around, and then all the doors have the handle, the doorknob things on there. And
Sure.
My theory is like, if it's hard for me to open that shit, then like it's gotta be hard for tiny hands who can't get leverage, right? It was like I told you guys,
I really liked those.
I would get those. That's like I had to laugh when you guys got your gate for your first child-proofing thing, the gate for your kitchen, and you guys are like, she's gonna figure that out in a week. I was like, she might figure it out. There's no way she'll get the leverage to like. It's too complex, right? You forget how like.
Even though she's super close.
Is she? I imagine, but it took like that's 3 months, dude. You guys are like 2 weeks. 2 weeks, she'll have it.
Yeah, the only problem so far is she just doesn't have the hand strength.
Right.
It's not the level. Like she just goes from the bottom, and it doesn't take a long distance to get it over like whatever you need for the latch. So for anybody listening, it's this like one of those gates, and the way the contraption works is there's a little slide on the top of the middle bar, and then the middle part will swing open. So that way it's like you don't have to open up the entire gate and do all the tension bar again or anything. So you just pinch two buttons and slide it to your left. It creates like super easy. It's
like a false door.
Yeah, almost. It's basically a false door. Everybody I've known who comes over gets confused about how it works, and that's a great sign because you think, okay, awesome, the kid's not. No, the kid immediately figured out how it worked, and so she knows you have to get both buttons, and I think she's figured out that it slides. She just doesn't have the strength with two fingers to pinch it yet. As soon as she does that, it's over.
But I think that takes. See, it's stuff like that though. I think as a parent, like. Yeah, you have to watch it. That stuff takes longer than you think, though. Like, that's a fairly intricate, strong thing to do. And, like, because even, like, again, our friend's son, who is taller than both of our kids and older, he can't do it. Like, he still doesn't have the, like, it's still a lot. Like, I guess, like, as an adult, you don't think about all the motor skills that go into putting all those things together. And, like, I don't know. I think that kind of stuff. So it's same thing with the doorknob stuff, right? Like I'm sure she or he or whoever could figure it out, but there's so much that goes into doing. Like you have to grab it, you have to pinch, you have to turn it, you have to keep that tension down. Right. So I think stuff like that is really good and gadgety. If I'm being honest, we haven't put caps on our outlets yet. That's one of the big things we haven't done because most of our outlets are tucked away.
Okay.
But he hasn't gotten to the point where he wants to stick stuff in them yet. So I'm kind of waiting for the like, oh, let me put a fork in there.
Sure.
But I think some of the gadget stuff's good. I don't know what other gadget stuff there is other than like gates and doorknob stuff.
So the big one we've been looking at is the TV. So like, I don't remember where I heard this, but there was some study or some person who said, I don't know, whatever. The point is that somebody said something along the lines of like one of the biggest dangers for kids of a certain age is the idea like your flat screen will topple and crush them. That like when they're playing with stuff, they're gonna grab the base and pull it on them and like deadsies. So there's this little like contraption where it attaches to the back of your television where you would normally screw it in if you're mounting your television to the wall, and then you just screw basically a rope or something onto whatever it is you have your TV sitting on. And it's supposed to be a great idea. It's supposed to be really good. I've been too lazy to do it. We haven't though.
I'm going to be honest. Maybe this makes me a really bad parent and everyone can judge me. there's a certain level of like shit that I'm just not gonna worry about. Like of the realm of stuff that I'm worried about killing my kid, that is the thing that I am the least like him pulling a piece of furniture down on him. Like, listen, it could happen. Knock on wood, it never does, because I'm sure there are horror stories. Not to be, but like to me, that is such like if that's the thing that gets him, you know what I mean? Like if that's like if it's that over like him running out in the street or some other horrifying thing I can think of, I don't know. I'm just not. It's not even laziness. I'm just like it's not my worry. Like it's not in my wheelhouse of things that I'm worried about him doing. And maybe it's because I still constantly watch him all the time now, and that will change as I'm not like on him like a hawk.
I mean, he has that tall bookshelf in his room too, doesn't he?
He has. I mean, yeah. I mean, listen. If we're worried about stuff falling down on him, then our house is a fucking death trap. Right. But I just don't like. I'm just not like the bookshelf. But the bookshelf, it's not. The bookshelf would be more of what's on the shelf falling down, like all the books.
Yeah,
and all
that's
that
the idea,
stuff.
though, right? Is this not the weight of the bookshelf? It's the weight of like the bookshelf plus the 100 books that are on said bookshelf.
Yeah, I mean that bookshelf's a weird bookshelf, though. It's not like the one we have in the living room. I don't know. Again, I'm just like if that's that's not the thing, because I can't really secure that bookshelf anyway. It's not. It's hard to describe how the shelf looks. Like there's no backing to it. So you can't really secure it. You would just have to get rid of it.
I mean, that's the thing, right? I also was not really worried about this. I'm still really not, because we've kind of gotten rid of all of our tall furniture. My office used to be what is now Thea's bedroom. And I used to have those really tall IKEA bookshelves, and like it was one of those things like they were really just incredibly wobbly and probably weighed 1,000 pounds because of all the books I had on them. And had those still been there, like the second she could walk, I would have had to take those down because they're just, like, or figure out a way to or secure them, which probably would have been more sensible. But when I look at those things, I go, okay, like if we had those right now, Thea would be dead. Because the second she was like, oh, I want a book on the second level or whatever is just above her head, she's going to climb up there. She's going to like put a foot on the bottom part, like grab one of the shelves and reach up. And that entire thing would have come toppling over. And so now we don't have anything that tall, but we do have her bookshelf in her bedroom, which is like something we got off of Amazon. That's like a two-level bookshelf and has like a little play section in the bottom. And whenever she wants a toy from the back of that toy box, basically she'll like climb on it and dive in. It's like that thing could topple over. Like I'm not worried about that one because I feel like it's just too low to really topple. But that's exactly how it happens, right?
Yeah, but I guess that's just what I'm saying. Like maybe it makes me the bad parent, and like I think my wife is much more keenly aware to those things than I am. I just am like, you know what? It could happen. Like, don't be wrong, it could happen.
What are you worried about? Because I feel like all of our conversations end up with like nothing will ever hurt your kid.
No, choking. Choking is my biggest like
choking.
Choking
do you know
on
the
something.
Heimlich?
I do, but my fear is that, and again, if I'm saying like my biggest fear with Miles is that he will find something on the ground that just happened to be like I missed it or it wasn't picked. Like shit just ends up on the ground, right? Sure. Like it's just sometimes like no matter how good and clean you are, like sometimes like a bobby pin. Like if let's say a bobby pin gets left on the sink and our cat hits it off and like is fucking all around our house with it. That like because it's almost happened that in a split second that will be in his mouth and I will have missed it. Yeah. And so as I give him more autonomy and I let him kind of like I'll let him. Because our house is pretty much a straight shot. There's a little bit of a turn into our kitchen. And I'll let him like go into the kitchen on his own. Then I'll get up and go in after him. So he has like a moment of like freedom. And I do the freedom and autonomy thing differently because he likes his bed a lot. So I'll let him go and just be in his bed by himself. And if he's not crabbing, I'm like, okay, cool. Like you have your time, play with your stuff. But so, yeah, it really comes down to him choking on something, because that's the thing that, to me, it happens so quickly. And like, if you're not just on them, right, or if you're actually gonna like sit on the couch or a chair or whatever and let them kind of just be as he gets to this point where he plays by himself, right? And I think that's really important. I think it's important that he understands that, like, I do not have to be engaged with him 24/7 for him to be entertained. Like, it is okay to go and like do your own thing. That like it will.
Straight. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, that in that time, right? That if I look away, or if that something will go into his mouth and he will choke, and I will have missed it, and that scares the bejesus out of me. Like, because that's the things I hear about kids fucking dying. Is like a kid choked on something.
That's absolutely scary. Like, that's a real thing.
And it's the thing that I feel like I know this sounds really silly, and it probably isn't. And it's the thing I feel like I have the least amount of control over, because everything goes into his mouth at this point.
That's fair.
Like the big stuff falling on him, like, yeah, maybe, but because I'm watching him close enough and he doesn't climb on stuff, that doesn't worry me. If I had to be honest about the stuff that really scares me.
So I just want to recap some of our conversations right now. Things you're not worried about. Your son falling 2 stories off like the giant ledge that is your upstairs. Your kid making a break out your front door that goes like literally straight into a really busy street with semis go down on a regular basis. No fear. Like the 3, what was it, like 300-pound bookshelves that you have?
Nope.
Like,
I'm really,
no fear. No,
don't
climb on it. I dare you.
Well, okay,
Tarzan that shit.
Part of my thing is like,
but the stray M&M, motherfucker, that's gonna kill you. Death.
Yep. I know, because here's the thing. I will be honest. Like, I'm sure as he gets older and he's more mobile, the street thing will probably scare me, because I almost saw my nephew get hit by a car when he was little, and like just totally like my brother and I both at the same time yelled loud enough that it got him to stop. But he was just like, he was probably 3 or 4 and just a kid. Like, he has no concept of like fucking anything. So yes, there will be a time where like him getting out, that will worry me too. I'm not there yet. Like, I'm just, my son still walks around like a drunk person. So I mean,
I guess
like,
that's true. Like,
you know what I mean?
Like sprints.
But and the thing, he can't reach the doorknob. So like, I guess here's my thing. Like, with all this childproofing and like worried about your kid dying, I'm neurotic enough in life about things that like, I'm not worried about the stuff that I don't have to worry about yet. So like, he can't get the door open, and he is a long way from that process because he cannot reach the doorknob.
Sure. When
we get to that point, I will figure that out, right? Like, there was stuff on our shelf by our liquor cabinet that I had to move. Actually, it was Thea that went for it, and that's how I found out, right? Thea went and grabbed something, and it was like a cheese board. And I was like, oh shit. Like, that moment of like, right? So then I was like, oh, I gotta move that. Right, so then I moved it, and it was fine. So
practice, baby, to the rescue again.
Yeah, right. There's just so much we have to worry about that I'm like, for me to worry about like some of this other, like, I just feel like there are more immediate dangers. I have to compartmentalize, and like that's where like I think my wife and I are really good teams. I think she worries about like some of the other stuff that I'm probably less like worried about. Like, let me tell you, if we had a pool, I'd be terrified all the time. Like, all the time. If there was a pool, I'd be like, my kid's going to die in that pool. That would be like a huge fear of mine. But we don't, so I don't have to worry about it. Our staircase worries me, but again, he can't get out of his crib yet. Even if he got out of his crib, I mean, I'm going to hear him hit the ground and go into his room.
So what's the height that you start to worry? So you've said numerous times, cribs, whatever, no big deal. But now you're saying like giant cliff from your stairway. Terrified.
I think that will really, really scare me. Well, 2 things. It'll scare me when he's able to get out of his crib and open a door.
Niagara Falls. Are we afraid?
Niagara Falls? Oh yeah.
Okay.
Well, okay. No, I think he could survive it. He's round.
What if he gets a barrel?
He'd totally be fine, dude. He'll totally make it to the barrel.
What if the barrel's only over his body? I mean, his head's basically a barrel anyway.
I mean, he's a Pisces, so water sign, he'd be fine.
Okay. I don't. What is a Pisces? I don't know. I mean, I know it's a sign.
It's the fish, dude. It's the 2 fishes.
I never followed astrology.
So yeah,
I knew that was astrology at least.
He can breathe underwater. He's totally cool.
Oh, yeah, he's cool then.
Yeah. No, I worry about that stuff when I think, like, if he gets out of his crib and he can work doorknobs, like we see that phase, then I will be really concerned. Like, that's when, like, the upstairs will get locked down like Fort Knox, like the gate. Realistically, and this may sound bad too, I will probably put a lock on the door.
On his door? Like, you're going to lock him in?
Yes, because here's the thing. He's safer in his room than if he were to wake up, wander out, and go down those staircases.
I mean, you're not wrong.
That's so.
I
and
forget,
again,
how like wide are the bars on those railings?
it's not wide. It's just the one. So the thing is, it's not wide. It's if he were to try to climb up, he could theoretically flip himself all the way down to the ground floor. Like if he grabbed it, pulled, and like
because there's like a latch there. Like it's actually like it's a gate. It's a gate that goes over the cliff.
Right, but you could still. I mean, if he climbed, right? If he made that attempt to climb it, he could theoretically throw himself over. He's not tall enough now to reach it. So in my mind, I would rather lock his ass in his room when he gets to that point than in the middle of the night throw himself to his death.
So you're gonna put him in a straitjacket?
Yeah, maybe. Listen.
Okay, sure. I mean, hey, kid's strong. Gotta teach him somehow.
But again, because at that point,
kid.
I will feel safer. I can proof his room to the point that like that's a safe place to be.
Okay.
And I would rather have him be safely in that room than get out and hurt himself. If God forbid we missed it, right? Or because we're all gonna hit that phase where like they're gonna start coming into our room. So that one legitimately scares me. But again, not there yet. I'm just not like I have time to think about that one. Right now, it's pennies in his mouth. Pennies in his mouth phase.
Yeah, if I'm being honest, we made a terrible decision where we still have the vacuum cleaner and the tool chest and all of that stuff in a closet in our bedroom because we just don't have another closet. And like you said, you can't turn a doorknob yet.
I mean, you could, like I said, the more and more like we're parents, the longer we're parents, I realize that I think you just gotta take this shit in steps, right? It really is like childproofing. I think is a step-by-step thing where you have to deal with what you can deal with immediately. So for like you, it's now Thea can get those scissors. Okay, what do we do with those scissors? Okay, once that's done, now let's do the doorknobs because now she's tall enough to reach the doorknobs. Okay, we finished that, and I think eventually you get the place childproofed, and then you don't need to childproof it anymore because they're cognizant of like no.
And then they become teenagers and you childproof the car, and then they become adults and you childproof their marriage.
Dude, the car scares me more than anything else. Let me tell you, like I think about that sometimes and I'm like, holy.
I have zero fear of that right now. I'm actually kind of excited.
You have fun with that. I was in too many car accidents. I know that.
I mean, I was in car accidents, but they were mostly the ones you were driving.
You were never in me with the car when it got hit. You just
no, it was always somebody else. No, that's not true. I was in one car accident that I'm sure we'll touch on a later episode. But the rest of them was somebody else.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I think about that shit. That's the stuff that worries me. Future stuff that like I can't like control by hawk watching him.
Yeah.
Anyway, so just move your fucking scissors, dude. Just move the goddamn scissors.
I don't.
Long story short, move the
scissors. I'll put them in the goddamn bench or something. So, you want to move on to emails?
Sure. Do we have any emails this week?
No, we don't. But I'm going to make a request. I'm going to try and post a picture of my stupid blocks. Will anybody, send me an email making a recommendation about how I can childproof this thing? I mean, in the short term, take crap out. But in the long term, even if like all the deadly stuff isn't in there, I know there's going to be stuff that I just don't want broken, or I just don't want to deal with having pulled out all the time. So if you've dealt with these things, please send me a recommendation so I can figure out how to do this.
Well done.
So you can send that to, because that's an important detail, to dumbdads@gmail.com. That's TWO dumbdads@gmail.com. In the meantime, though, how about some recommendations? Nick, do you got anything for us?
I had a really good one. It just totally escaped my brain. Actually, you do your recommendation first. Let me see if I can get mine
Oh, you're
recharged.
assuming I have a good recommendation.
Yeah,
Now.
you always do.
I have a great I have the best recommendations, Nick. I
You
actually
do.
do have a good one today. So when my daughter was little, we decided we wanted to be outdoorsy, we wanted to be active, we wanted to be, frankly, better than we currently were. So we bought one of those fancy hiking backpacks. It was like it was kind of, I don't want to say it was an impulse buy because it was something that we were trying to figure out how we could still hike. But we went out, we paid just an ungodly amount of money for it. And I'm going to make a recommendation that you buy one of those ungodly expensive backpacks. We bought a fairly nice one because we had like 3 years worth of gift cards saved up. And so for us, it wasn't that expensive, but they make some significantly cheaper ones. I think you can get one of those backpacks for something like $100 now. And it's great.
Not bad.
It's amazing. At first she didn't really like it that much because I think it was like constraining and she wanted to be free. But now, like, she'll see it sitting in her bedroom and she'll just try and go climb into it. And she'll make us just like walk back and forth in the apartment for an hour with her in it. It is easily the best investment we've made, and it's been just so much fun. We take it everywhere we go now. Like, instead of having that humongous stroller that pisses everybody off, it's just a backpack. It's, on my back. It's on my wife's back, and it's adorable. Like, instead of having everybody give you that look of like, oh, you're taking up 12 people's space with that giant stroller, it's like, oh, look at the people carrying the kid on their back. Oh, it's adorable. And it is. It's freaking adorable. And she's having fun, which I think is the best part. She's having fun. She's above everybody else. I'm 6 feet tall, and then she's an extra head above me. So if there's anything like to see, she has an eagle eye view. And it's amazing. So, I'm going to recommend one of those hiking backpacks. You can definitely find them at REI. I think you can typically find them at most like outdoorsy type stores. So maybe at Bass Pro Shops, maybe like what's the other one, like the Northern Eagle?
Dick's Sporting Goods, probably.
Maybe Dick's Sporting Goods. I think that's more like sports than it is outdoorsy.
Oh, okay. Hiking's a sport.
Well, I mean, is it?
I don't
Is
know,
hiking a sport?
I'm
It's
sure
like-
someone thinks it is. I'm sure somebody thinks it is.
If you think hiking is a sport, email us at twodumbdads@gmail.com. That's TWO. But yeah, that's my recommendation. Get a hiking backpack. It's a whole lot better than a stroller. Nick, what you got?
I got actually 2 recommendations now.
Ooh.
Dose recommendations. Sorry. One of them is I just finished watching. One of them is a TV show because I like TV. I just finished watching The Punisher, the Marvel's Netflix Punisher. I finished all the way through. This is actually like
watch it with your kids. It's important they learn early.
It is. But this is more for like when you need like your own time. Your kids are in bed. But
watch it without your kids because there are brains splattered everywhere.
Listen, you know what? It's better they learn young.
It's a good show. I liked it.
It is. I really liked. So as someone who loved comic books growing up and liked the Punisher, Punisher wasn't my favorite, but I liked him. I really liked the twist they did dealing with like PTSD and changing. I thought they changed the storyline for Punisher in like an appropriate way for what's relevant now. I just thought that they did in the realm of what Punisher is, right? They did a really nice job dealing with something that's really contemporary and really a really important issue, to be honest. I thought they did a really cool job with that, and when it was all said and done, not the action, it's well acted. I was like, you tackled that subject matter within the realm of a comic book brilliantly. And so for that reason alone, it's super violent. If you don't like super violent stuff, it is a tough watch. But I thought it was really good. So if you like that, if you can handle the violence type stuff, but you want to watch a good kind of like drama wrapped inside of that, go watch it. I thought it was great.
And there's a really touching, like, I don't mean to pull this back to parenting, but like there is a really sweet family story in there too. I remember watching it and like I totally just started blubbering when I started seeing. I don't want to ruin the show, but there's a character who doesn't get to see his family for reasons, and it was just touching and amazing, and I really appreciated it.
Yeah, it's a really complex show. I mean, a lot of people said it moved slowly, but I think that
They
slow
all do.
movement. Yeah, that's true. But anyway, it's great all around. I highly recommend it. And then my second recommendation, which I'm not doing this to be annoying, but go back and listen to the episode, our podcast, the Grandma Speaks episode. I thought,
Okay.
no, but wait, let me finish because I just listened to it because I wasn't there. I was sick. But I actually think once you get past the really awkward cold open, that it is a cool insight into what gave you the idea to do the podcast. And I thought that was a really fun way. It was really fun to listen, knowing you and seeing kind of where your mind was at and what you wanted out of this. If you're coming to this podcast and listening, it's quick. It's a half an hour, but I thought it was a cool insight into what you're trying to do with this in a way that hadn't really been articulated yet. I think being by yourself forced you to articulate, and so I like that. It was a good listen for me not being part of it.
Oh, thank you. Can I give a little addendum to that episode?
Sure.
I actually got an email from my grandmother in which she basically says, "Yep, that's exactly what I thought. Love you both very much. Please stop swearing." Grandma, love you a lot. I don't think we've sworn that. Have we sworn that much in this episode? I think we did.
I probably have.
We
Grandma
probably
Jenny,
did. But
Grandma Jenny, you do not control me. I am my own person.
You control me, and I love you very much. So you had something you wanted to wind down on?
Yeah. So just as we wind down, as we kind of close out and say goodbye to everybody, please, if you do listen, sorry, I'm doing like the speak out to everyone. If you do listen, rate, review, and subscribe. The rate and review is really important to us, and I would love to see some more of what your thoughts are inside the iTunes world. So if you're listening on iTunes, give us a little rate and review. Give us a little what's up out there. That'd be awesome. I'd appreciate it.
Awesome. Well, I think that's going to do it for us this week. You can find me at Chris Moss again on Twitter.
You can find me at nwestermeyer on Twitter.
And of course, as usual, you can always find us on Facebook at our Facebook group. And keep your eyes peeled in the coming weeks. We may have some big announcements about websites and stuff like that. So, in the meantime, thanks for listening and be well.